I had a very good job. I worked at Talk Sport, the radio station. I worked there for 12 years. Towards the end of my time working there, I was gambling heavily. I was addicted to gambling at that point. Um, I was borrowing money off people. I would use manipulation as a way to get more money to gamble. Um, I was doing it to escape. I had a very difficult relationship with my boss, um, and the boss that I had before that I had a very good relationship with. So emotionally, I felt it very difficult to adjust to this new boss coming in and a different way of working. And over the time, I used gambling as that outlet, but I didn't want to be around my colleagues. I wanted to isolate, and that's where um, gambling came in because I could go to bookmakers or go to a casino. I'd just like leave the office for a few hours, pretend I was in a meeting or something, and just go and gamble. And I felt like, I was getting away from everybody. So I continued to gamble, and I got to a point where I would, when I was earning good money, I had a great job. I was traveling the world watching sport for a living. So, I never really felt present at those things. I was very good at my job, and we won awards while I was there. But I always had one eye on gambling, and I'd got into the kind of the depths of addiction, because um, whereas I should have been looking forward to the job I was doing or the football match I might be going to for work, I was more thinking about when am I going to get the opportunities to gamble. And where this really came to the front for me was I was at a football match once at Old Trafford, and I remember I was sat with around four of my colleagues, and I felt incredibly lonely and isolated despite being in a football stadium with 70,000 plus people and my colleagues around me. I felt very lonely, and addiction had taken me into a place of isolation because I knew I wasn't living the true life. I'd been lying to my colleagues, for a long time. I'd been very dishonest with them. So that became more and more uncomfortable. And then the fact that I'd borrowed money off colleagues as well, and that started to creep into it. And so it just became very uncomfortable.